Good afternoon to one and all present here. Welcome to the third session of day 4 FDP on smart cities. Today we have with us an eminent personality, Dr. Sri Shivakumar V, Joint Director CPRI. It is my privilege to introduce Sri Shivakumar V. He graduated from the Bangalore University and studied at UVC Bengaluru, India. He also holds post-graduation in Electronics and Communication Engineering from same university. He is with Central Power Research Institute, CPRI Bengaluru, since past 30 years. His special fields of interest include smart grid, power system automation, cybersecurity, and communication for utility applications. He was a project leader for the consulting assignments of KPTCL IES project, one of the largest SCADA project of power utility, SCADA DMS projects of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana states under our APDRP scheme, and Smart Grid pilot project at Hyderabad. At present, he is project leader of the project Establishment of Smart Grid Research Laboratory at CPRI under 7th Plan Capital Project funding from MOP, and the project is in the advanced stage of completion. He is also in charge of test laboratories such as Metering Protocol Testing Lab and Substation Automation System Lab of Metering and Utility Automation Division of CPRI. He is also a member in Bureau of Indian Standards Technical Committees and convener of working panel of BIS LITD 10.2 security. He is also a member of WG15 IS TC 57 and Annex SIRFN of ISGAN. He holds 2 patents. He also published more than 15 papers in the national and international conferences, workshops, and delivered guest lectures in many conferences and workshops. And he has also visited Singapore, USA, and Japan on official assignments and for presentation of papers. So we are fortunate enough to have you today, sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. First of all, good afternoon to all of you. And I hope all the participants, and I am very much thankful to management of Dayanand Sagar College of Engineering and Dayanand Sagar College of University. Sorry. And also to Dr. K. Shanmugam Sundar for giving opportunity to present on today's lecture on SCADA and distribution automation. I hope today is fourth day. Many of the speakers give broad view on the smart cities that included today's lecture on energy management, and in previous speakers discussed about water management and other aspects of the smart cities. So when we talk about smart cities, there are so many options are there, but we will be focusing to related to electrical aspects in my today's presentation. That broadly covers SCADA and DMS, historical background, and what is the contemporary SCADA and DMS technologies, and control center technologies, substation automation and feeder automation, and field components, and communication systems, and one of the important topics, security threats or cyber security, that is also becoming equally important, and some of the standards related to SCADA and securities, and some case studies in a very brief way. So as we discussed in last 3 days, many topics related to smart cities that includes very broader definition. Say education, e-governance, open data, smart energy, IoT, smart racial, smart health, smart mobility, smart home. It is just a glimpse. Still many more things can be added, but our focus of discussion is smart energy. And again within that, what we call as a smart grid. Within the smart grid, again, we are limiting to our today's discussion on the distribution automation. So this is how the smart grid looks, you can see. So let us start from customers' premises. We'll be having advanced metering infrastructure or smart meters. Using the smart meters, we can have a demand response system also, and renewable integrations, distribution automation, power quality planning, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles management, outage management, field data applications. This is in the broad sense way of smart grid definition pictorially. So within the smart grid, these are the basic elements, and each has got its own topics. It will take more than an hour but we limit our discussion to distribution automation alone. Even outage management and GIS is also extended application of distribution automation that we are not discussing. So let us start with question: why these distribution management systems and SCADA or smart grid required for the today's utilities operations? You all know that day by day our energy demand is increasing, and also the another important aspect is that the reduction of greenhouse emission. See, earlier all we had thermal power plants, that is fossil fuel based stations, and now last 5 years you can see that globally and especially India also, any new thermal power plants introduction is becoming very less, and more or less we can say that whatever existing thermal power plants are there, maybe further after its life period we may not go. We are talking more about renewable wind and solar energies. So these are very eco-friendly and environmentally better than this fossil fuel based thermal power plants. Even hydro is also included. Small hydro is also coming up. That is little bit eco-friendly when compared to big hydro sources. That takes away a lot of forest and ecologies. Small hydro plants also coming. That also we can treat as a renewable, directly or not. Indirectly we can call small hydro plants also will be covered under renewable. Also, you can see new load requirements, new kind of loads, that is electric hybrid vehicles that is going to come, and increases its use of electricity for urban transportation. See, this in India also, a lot of policy and subsidy, those programs started. Definitely, we can see that next 5 to 8 years, the whatever conventional vehicles we are seeing, that numbers will be very less, or we have to see as a some of the historical kind of things. So that also increases our energy requirements. And another aspect also might be noticed in last 5 to 7 years. The another revelation is that urban transport, that metro trains. Earlier all it was in 1 or 2 cities limited. Now you can see that in India itself more than 7 8 places, and still another 8 to 10 places are planned or in the execution stages. That is also heavily dependent on electricity. So when all this increases, our number of consumers is also increases numbers, and how we will operate our electric utilities in the conventional way or 10 years back. Running in this current scenario, it becomes very difficult. That and need for control of customer demand and supply, it will be managed. Manual system, after reaching one stage, definitely it becomes very difficult task. Another thing is that critical asset management, dealing with security threats. See, our utilities will be having it will be treated as a critical asset because it is very essential. Indirectly, anything happens to electricity sector, it will affect multiple sectors like health or finance. So it has got catastrophic effect on. So this is the electricity also forms under one of the critical asset. So dealing with security threats, when we increase automation, there is also the side effect of the security comes. So that we will discuss later in my slides. And adapting to disruptive and rapidly changing technologies for increased operational efficiency. Just here one example I wanted to share with you. You all be familiar with the internet banking and use of debit card and credit cards and all. Say maybe 15 to 20 years back, the banking was not much computerization happened, manual thing, manual process, and we have to go to bank, wait for hours together, and holidays totally we cannot do. But now you can see that scenario is entirely different, and the number of account holders also huge numbers when compared to 15 or 20 years back, it is very less. Now the rupee one pay account also, the government of India has introduced that facilities. We can imagine is how many number of savings bank account holders will be there, and with the existing staff, how we can handle. This is all how the banking sector slowly they adopted new technology, computer-based technologies. And here one more thing point is that to add that it won't take away any jobs or any other things. Maybe some old jobs becomes new kind of jobs. So that way it is not. At same time, it increases your operational efficiency and to handle that huge number of customers. So similarly in the electricity sector also, you can see that number of customers are increasing and customer expectation is also increasing very much, and our load growth and how the conventional way we are operating our Load dispatch operation is also requires some changes because of introduction of use renewable energy sources like solar and wind. Those are very much uncertain and we cannot predict like conventional energies. So that all requires new technologies and competing parts. So that is why we have to go for SCADA and DMS. And this SCADA and DMS, it is not very old. Actually, we can think of when electricity started and a little bit when load dispatch operation started. So this SCADA is also started. But because number of consumers are very less, generation also less, and the technological developments like communications, computers, or the electronics, not much happened. So SCADA philosophy is same, but there was not rapid development because of huge investment requirements. And you can see that from 2000 onwards, suddenly there is a lot of changes happened. We got good communication facilities and better computing technologies, and all these are coming at affordable rate, affordable car. So earlier this was a limited, SCADA was limited to genetic stations and to some extent transmission sectors. Now you can see that in distribution sector also it is entered, and there also we need automation because here also number of customers, load, everything is changing. Lot of things. This is where similarly just another example here I want to share. See, the banking sector now it is fully dependent on internet and computers. So something net is not available, we cannot do. Even if you go to counters, bank counters for some required work. So if anything is network is down, they will ask us to wait. It is fully dependent online. So here also in electricity, in the present days, you can see that if somewhere outage happens, those I hope today's many are from the academics, and I hope if anyone are there utilities, they can understand the issue. When power outage happen, the call centers, the utilities call centers, for example, you take in a Bangalore, Bescom is our distribution company. Any area power goes, the call center receives huge number of calls. The customers are not ready to wait. Once power goes, it rings, huge number of calls comes. Handling that kind of customer calls is also difficult task. You have to answer, and customer expects uninterrupted power supply. To to do all these things, automation is required. That is the reason we are going with distribution automation, and the technological also is becoming very friendly and affordable. Cost it is available, and we have to go naturally for that. This is how the typical modern distribution automation control center and field devices looks. You can see, let us start with at field levels we are having. At field levels, that is 11 kV lines, what we are seeing overhead lines. There we are having feeder automation we call. The detail I will explain once again later when that slide comes. Right now we will have that feeder level automation. Then we will go to distribution substations. Distribution substations, it depends upon state to state, the voltage level is slightly different. In Karnataka, below 66 kV comes under distribution companies, and 66 kV and above comes under transmission companies. Incidentally, in Bangalore zone, all are cities for 11 kV substations, and all these substations are handled by transmission company KPTCL, and we are not having in Bangalore zone. This 33/11 kV substations are not there. That won't come under DISCOM directly. So feeder operation is there. And incidentally, in Bangalore, KPTCL also, they automated all the substations and they implemented KPTCL integrated extended SCADA that covers from distribution substation to transmission companies. So here we are having, if 33/11 kV or whatever the level substations, that is the next component comes. In the substation, we will be an RTU, that is remote terminal unit. Then from the feeder automation or substation, data have to flow to control centers. That is through communications. So here this communication technology will be wired fiber optics or wireless or dedicated radio systems. Just here I mentioned as one example is MPLS, MLN. This is the managed lead line or MPLS multi-protocol label switching through fiber optic, or some places fiber optic may not be feasible at last mile. So it will throw copper, then further exchange level onwards, it is a fiber optics if it is lead. Or if it is distribution company own network, they will have their own fiber optic or other options. And then third component comes This is the communication aspects. Then fourth, what are the things? That is the master control center, master station or control room or control center. This is what we can see. The example here in Bangalore also they automated, we are having one master control center, or it is a control room, what we can call simply distribution control room or distribution control centers. Here we will be having different kind of servers and other things that we will again see later in detail. And nowadays, this control center need to talk to enterprises network or the corporate network also. That is also communication happens. In earlier systems, when traditional SCADA has come, this corporate network was not much, and this operational network, what we call this is control center area, operational network, both are isolated. But nowadays, it is not there because much of information have to exchange happen through that one. So manually exchange is again cumbersome job. So that's what this also gets interconnected using different technologies. So this is how the modern distribution automation system looks. So now let us see how the final details of this distribution automation systems. You can see in this present in this slide, this area is control center and we are having a large number of servers. So basically we call one as a front-end processors or communication systems. Servers, this is the communication servers, where this is all the your feeder automation FRTUs or substation FRTUs will communicate directly to these communication servers or front-end processors. And we will be having one more application server, that is SCADA DMS. Here this application will be running. Then this is all network monitoring, not only control center networking, your all field devices. So that one network management system server, one dedicated server will be there. Apart from that, again historian or information storage and retrieval. There is one more server will be there, that all information storages and all it will happen through these servers. This is all. This is typical what we are using in the one of the scheme called RAPDRP, Government of India initiatives. This is the system we followed, but depending upon the complexity, the scaling will change. Number of servers or rather additional servers. Sometimes virtualization will do in same server we can have multiple applications. That depends upon the your network and the requirements and investment. Apart from that, in the control center we can see a large video walls. So for that also one mostly server may not be there, as a control center will be there, VPS video projection system we call. So for that separate one system will be there. Then data storages for a long-term data storage, that can be solid state drives or the tape drives can be used. So, but nowadays, earlier days they would use tape drives. Now, new systems are coming with the solid state drives for the storage of data. Long term, maybe 1 year data, 2 year data, we can archive those data. So that is all possible. This is the control centers. And apart from that control centers, within the same control center premises, we call as a one developmental server. So this developmental server functionality is that, for example, in any new substations, any new BA comes, additional feeders comes, those data is to be reflected in the operational SCADA system. Initially, what we'll do, all those things, trials will be done on the developmental servers. Once we feel it is acceptable, all right, it is, then we will transfer to operational system. So that is the reason one developmental server is required. After implementation, any new changes comes, but we will be doing it with the developmental server, and after asserting all things are all right, then we will be transferring to operational systems. And another thing also, control center, we can see that one load dispatch training systems. So generally what happens, this is the conventional load dispatch centers when it is automated. For new engineers or load dispatch operators, they need to be trained. For that also, this DM distribution management system or SCADA DMS systems supports for that one. This is what we call a dispatcher training systems. So here, whatever from historical data we can play back here, it looks like a real load dispatch operation, and any number of operations we can do. Something goes wrong, it will not be reflected on the real-time systems. For the operator training purpose, this will be used. Generally, this also will be located in the control centers. So this is how at control centers we are seeing. And next, it will go to operators consoles. That is, the workstations will be there. depending upon the sizing of the SCADA systems or distribution automation systems, we will be having different workstations for each operators. So they can see that what are the operational parameters, state estimators, what is the status of the and for each workstations or operator, some area will be defined and it will be provided to them. So this is how it control center looks, and apart from that, we'll be having printer and other things there. So then let us see how this control center goes to enterprises network, or what we call the business, or the operational system data, how it get transferred to the enterprises network or business network of the or corporate network we call. See, some of the information statistics earlier used to manually provide to this enterprises network and they have to upload. So now what is happening, this requirement of data is also used. Automatically we will be fetching data from the operational centers. What we will make here, demilitarized zone will be there. So this operation center will be data transfer happens through this demilitarized zone. Because this corporate network is always we consider as weak, even whatever security aspects we taken, because number of users will be more and many people will be accessing. It has got internet access also, that is globally. Whereas this is the isolated network, what we call demilitarized zone. So through this firewall, only limited data with the proper configuration and policy of the firewall, what we program. So it will happen. It will provide safety aspects for the security of the operational center. So then coming to field devices. So the field devices, all these FRTUs or fault passage indicators or substation RTUs, that is remote terminal units, on how it will communicate. First, it will go to control center communication front end processors through the various communication modes. Sometimes in the FRTs, that is field remote terminal units, what we will use GPRS or 3G we will be using, or radio network we will be using. And in the substations, either our own dedicated fiber network or through the service providers networks like a BSNL or Airtel. So those things, those data all comes through cloud to, if it is through third party service providers through cloud, it will come to control center through front-end processors. This is how it looks overall, the broader view of distribution automation. So I hope any questions are there, we can take at the end of the presentation. You can put your questions in the chat box. Also, if I am speed, maybe please communicate in the chat box. I will slow down. Okay, now let us see how these substations. Now we have discussed overall distribution automation system and then control center, how it looks like. And then field substation also is considered as a field, and beyond substation level feeder comes, that we generally call as a feeder automation. Now before going to feeder automation, let us see how these modern substations will be there. For the SCADA systems, there are two aspects. The protections are separately. Here we are not discussing about the protection aspects. Only the SCADA, that is supervisory control and data systems. That is basically all your electrical parameters, voltage, current, frequency, PF, power, reactive power, other things, data fetching and control to the various network elements. That is electrical network elements, that is the breakers or switches or transformer type changers. That one protection aspect we are not bringing into this distribution automation. That is a separate thing, and I'm not discussing here that part. But generally, sometimes SCADA either that also as a part will be included. Otherwise, SCADA DMS goes independently. We will discuss how this substation automation from the distribution automation point or the SCADA system, how it looks like. In the modern substations, we will be using many of numerical IEDs, that is intelligent electronic devices, or numerical relays for the protections purpose. So here, when you are using with conventional electrical, electromechanical is slightly different. I am not talking about, let us discuss about modern substations. Even in the recent days, I have seen many of the distribution substations also, they are going with substation automated systems using numerical relays, because these relays are nowadays available at affordable cost. Maybe 10 to 15 years back, these are what we can call as some luxurious only transmission companies or 400 kV or 220 kV lines being used. But now it is not like that. Is more competition is there, more manufacturers are available, it is affordable, and it saves a lot of your substation space and cost also on a long period. So in these modern substations, what we call as a when we implement with numerical relays for the distribution automation purpose, and within the substation automation system, we call as a process bus. In the process bus, whatever the primary equipment details, that is the voltage currents all through CTPT comes the process bus. Nowadays, process bus is also getting digitalized. That what we call use as a merging units, and we will be using the optical CTPTs. Directly, optical CTPT outputs will be in the samples. So directly we can connect to merging unit also. Or if it is merging unit is not there, it will come through conventional CTPTs that goes to the relays or numerical relays as an input. Then it comes to station bus. Here in the station bus, all these relays will be communicating on IEC 610 communication protocols. And then it has to be connected to our main distribution control center. Maybe, for example, if it is a statewide distribution control center, complete one utility wise, discom wise, or town wise you can go. But many places distribution automation will be implemented in the city or town wise. For example, in Bangalore, we are having distribution automation system called DAS. Or under RFDRP towns, there are more than 78 towns has been implemented town automation, town distribution automation systems. Like in Hyderabad, CPRI was consultant for the Andhra Pradesh and Telangana utilities. So in Andhra Pradesh, earlier, now it is Telangana and Andhra Pradesh separately. In Telangana, Hyderabad and Warangal. And similarly in the Andhra Pradesh, Vishakhapatnam and in the expeditional areas, Nellore, Warangal, sorry, not Warangal, Nellore, and another two places we covered this SCADA automations. It is a town wise. Within the town, whatever substations are there, all are gets automated, and the substation are to talk to the distribution automation center located in the that particular town headquarters. So here how it talks from station bus, all this IDs data through IEC 220 protocol it goes. Right now, as of at present, IEC 220 directly cannot talk to the distribution automation control center, because in the control center we are using different communication protocol that is built on IEC 608070-5-101 or 104. Present days are using 101 protocols that is built on again Ethernet or TCP IPs. So the 610 protocol directly cannot talk to this 104 protocol. So we'll be having gateways that at the station bus level, all the data through gateway gets converted into 104 and talks to control centers. And at same level, at same station bus level, for the within the station control, operator console will be there. He can control that substations. So he'll be having as a similar kind of one mini SCADA we can call as that particular station data is all available to operators, and there also some 1 or 2 servers will be available, and all these relays data you can see. So this is how modern substation looks. So now let us see that we have gone through the top down approach. Control center we have seen, then downwards we have gone distribution automation, substation, distribution substations automation system. Now let us see feeder level, that is coming to 11 kV. Here it is all 33 kV or 66 kV. Now how it looks from the substations, all 11 kV feeder goes. How it looks. So here what we call as a feeder automations. This feeder automation system makes various devices like auto recloser, sectionalizers, and ring main unit, fault passage indicators, and circuit breakers and load break switches will be there. So here we will be controlling this one. You know very well, most of all, you see that in our Indian systems, many feeders are radial feeders, and down the 11 kVs data also it will be very, very difficult to get. Many times, whatever that lineman or that particular station engineer, assistant engineer, you only knows what is details and all. There is not much of documented things will be there. How that lines is connected or not. They will go it by their knowledge and understandings. So in this SCADA system, we want to implement what happens. Your network should be, the network data should be very clearly available. Then only we can establish automation systems. So here, first of all, what we'll be doing that during the implementation stage, we will be doing the survey. In the field survey will be done, your network diagram, and strategically which are the places we have to install these feeder automation elements like auto recloser. Generally, auto reclosers will be just after the substations for overhead lines. It will be on 11 kV side, and generally connecting this auto recloser immediately after substation is not feasible, because basic purpose of auto recloser is to protect your substation breakers. Any tripping happens, every time a station breaker trips, so very large number of customers get affected, and there will be more stress on the station breakers. So generally this auto recloser element will be installed at a overhead line strategic slightly away from substation, and where very frequently fault happens due to temporary faults like trees and that kind of things, temporary fault likely to happen. So that is the strategic place for locating auto recloser. And similar things, say auto recloser concept is more or less breaker kind of things that I will come later details in later slide. Then coming to sectionalizer. Sectionalizer is the one element similar to load break switch. It is not like a breaker and it cannot handle fault current. But whenever fault happens, so it gets tripped. But again in the fault current, we cannot energize through remotely. So this sectionalizer isolates where that fault happens. Once this fault is cleared, then through remotely we can energize sectionalizers. So the functionality of sectionalizer is to isolate the faulty area, so that when fault anything happen, very small area only affected. So number of customers affected will be less by adopting this feeder automation system. And this will be one auto recloser, multiple sectionalizers. Generally, how we will be going in the design of based on the field survey. Maybe one auto recloser under that 4-5 sectionalizers can come in the radial feeders or whatever, how it happens. And again, ring main unit we use. Again, ring main units will be having 3-way, 5-way, 7-way, multiples are there. The advantages of ring main unit, this ring main unit is also not a new concept. Even in the earlier 20 years back also, we have installed enough number of ring main units in our distribution systems. But anything happens, manually that lineman has to go and change in the directions. Ring main unit basically helps that, maybe for example, it may be getting inputs from 2 feeders and one normally open switch will be there. It will be feeding 2 independent paths. I will show the diagramly how it works. So anything when fault happens, we can quickly isolate remotely. When it is automated, quickly isolate. Lineman will not go to the physical place of the ring main where it is ring main RMU is located. So quickly we can disconnect or connect remotely. So, and we can limit only where that fault happens, that area alone can be isolated from the rest of the area, and rest of the area can be, power can be restored through alternate path. So how it can be from same substation, two feeders will be there, or it can be different substations also, RME can have feeders. So it provides some alternate paths. So that is the advantages. And another option is that ring main units generally you can see where essential services like hospitals, or the police departments, or the secretariat, or the assembly. So all these are essential places, even though they will be having backup either through diesel generators or other alternative CPS, and these are strategic locations. RMU will help lot more things in this kind of any abnormal situations. Any one feeder or substation goes fault, so we can extend the power to the essential services. And generally these ring main units, all it can be the where underground cables are there, so it will you can see that lot more these RM units on the road sides. And another item is the fault passage indicator. This fault passage indicator is nothing but small over current relay, we can say how it operates, and earth leakage relay. Both are built into functions, and this will be installed at the live line 11 kV overhead live lines. Any fault happens, it will trip, and that associated indication lamp will be there, that will be flashing at a quarter rate, so that the crew comes from the utilities, they can identify and trace and subtract the fault. Another option is that, so this fault phase indicator is that even at the control center, it will indicate where exactly fault happened. That information also will be there. And when lineman comes to that densely area, easily by seeing the fault phase indicator, he can quickly identify the location of the fault. And the circuit breaker and load break switches, and you obviously have seen how it is used in the substation, similar kind of things in the feeder automation also it is used. Now, how feeder automation works, let us see through diagram. See, this is the typical systems without automation. Without automation, you are seeing. I hope here it is the remote station feeder. It is coming. This is the circuit breaker, and this is one normal open switches will be there. Without automation, this slide is without automation. And how this another RMU or manually will be having a distribution transformer located this area, and one more feeder from remote substation we are getting this one. So let us assume anything one fault happens at here. Then how it looks? You can see what happens. See, fault happens here. So the circuit trips on the fault. So this said due to this fault, and power. Now you can see that complete this area as outage because the breaker are tripped this side and power is having problem. Sorry. Okay. And then the lineman have to come and see that manually you have to close. And again, this is the faulty area. So by the time, see here, this many customers are get affected, and by the time the crew have to come and isolate all these things, it will take more than 40 minutes. Only faulty area, this one here, it is limited customers. It is all the manual system, how we are doing. So let us see that how one feeder automation with the distribution automation system is implemented. You can see here. So here normally open switch, this also has a got connectivity remote center. So now let us assume here fault happens. So then how it looks like, this breaker trips and this fault phase indicators along this line also flashes indicate lights, and immediately that information has gone to control centers. So it will indicate that this particular breaker are tripped and this line is having problem, and these are fault phase indicators are glowing, and that indication go to control centers. And by the time before that crew comes, what happens? We can see here immediately based on the decisions at the control center, either we can automate or with DMS assisted, the operators can take a decisions. Multiple options will be there. Based on this one, we can take a call on that. What are things? See, normally point open gets connected here, and this breaker will be again closed, and we can see here that fault from here so many places it is reduced, but still fault is there at this location. It is not restored, but all this happens within 1 to 2 minutes. From, for example, here 100 customers are got disturbed. By the time here I will put to only about 50 customers. Just as example, I'm telling numbers customers. Then by the time crew reaches, because he has got where exactly, and we will be having outage management system with crew management system. Using these automations, they will reach exact fault locations within 10 to 15 minutes, and they will isolate fault. So that fault maybe here something line or shorting or something happened, that they have to do manually. This time depending upon fault happens. But ultimately what you can see here, more than 30 to 35 minutes is saved in identifying and restoring the power supply to other consumers, excluding this where exactly fault happened. So hardly about 10 to 15 customers may be affected. They may take their own time, whatever, depending upon the fault. So what we can understand from this one, very first point is that when the outage happened is to less number of customers, and power is restored to all others within a quick period. So one biggest advantage what we are getting from the customer perspective is that only the main affected customer, you will be having some longer period. All other customers quickly within few minutes power supply has gone and again come back. by the time they call the control center or take action. So the customer will be happy. So what is next advantage to utilities? As long as outage is less, means energy consumption is there, billing happens. If there is a 1 hour loss, means 100 customers, definitely it is a loss to utilities also. So now what happens by introduction of these automations? Maybe 100 customers outages, duration of 1 hour reduced to only 10 customers per about 30 minutes, depending upon the type of fault. And rest of the customers, they will feel only interruptions hardly for a few minutes. Many times we are seeing in Bangalore it is implemented. You can see that suddenly power goes and it comes back. Maybe the main affected area may take time. Other customers are their energy or power supply is restored. This is how the advantages. This just I am telling, but lot more things we will get benefits that we will discuss at end. These two are main things. One, customer satisfaction we will get. Another one, loss can be reduced for the utilities. I hope you got still some more any doubts. Again, we at the end of lecture we will take about this one and how this feeder component looks. See, this is the fault phase indicator. This will be on overhead lines. This is the hook that we will be putting. There will be called as a hot stick. Using that hot sticks, we can install this fault phase indicator quickly on the live lines. So that is the advantage of these fault phase indicators. Installation is very simple. On a live line, we can quickly install what we call as a one hot stick. We call using that one simply we can install this one. There is no need of taking power shutdown. Line recloser. This is nothing but auto reclosers. What I call it is similar to our circuit breakers. But how it works? This is auto recloser. What we call it is something as a it has got an auto recloser and one more FRT will be there. That is field remote terminal unit. Through that electronic systems, this circuit breaker what installed at the outdoor 11 kV pole. How it works? So this control circuitry or FRT what we call, it has got all the information and relays for communicating to control center. One second. I'm meeting. One presentation. Presentation is there. The Dynam circle. Yeah. Sorry. So the auto recloser, that FRT will communicate to control centers, and same thing, the breaker also it has to be controlled. It is just like a time controlled auto recloser you can call. So in any fault happens, and this auto recloser can be programmed for the 5 shots or 3 shots. Let us assume it is programmed for 3 shots. This auto recloser. It is when we installed in the like this one in the feeder in the field. Maybe due to some temporary fault like tree falling on that one. So what happens? Short circuit, it will trip the relays and breaker. Auto recloser will trip. Temporarily, whatever the section is associated with that auto recloser, all customers will be power. And this programming 3 shots and time interval between each shots that can be done. Maybe 2 minutes, 5 minutes we can give like that. So what happens? My timeout I will be providing 1 minute. Let us assume. See when the tripping happens, it will the auto recloser. It will wait for 1 minute before reconnecting to the load. So after timeout, 1 minute, it will reconnect again to the load. If it is a temporary fault, like a tree falling due to wind and other things, automatically it has been set right. So there will not be interruptions. The auto recloser will continue. Again, something within more than 1 minute, one more trip happens. Again, it will wait for 3 shots. Now at this stage, let us assume there is a permanent fault. When permanent fault happens, first time it tripped, it is waited for 1 minute. And again, at the end of 1 minute, it will try to reconnect. Due to permanent fault, after immediately reconnection, again it will trip because fault current is existing. So again it will wait for 1 minute. Then it will try to connect. So in the third shot, still fault is there. So what happens? Permanently it will trips, and that information has gone to control centers. stating that indication it is a permanent fault on that reclosures. By the time here, this one, we are using various seculature within that radial network. So that in whatever that time delays is there, maintaining. See, some seculature will be getting power supply through RMU or different feeders and gets connected, disconnected. And those who are healthy are there within that small network. So their power will be getting from alternate in the combination of auto recloser, seculazer, RMU. Only small section where that permanent fault is there, those customers are get affected, and that crew has to come and see that. For location also easier, and only that particular segment or area, very limited number of consumers gets affected. This is how that auto recloser works in tandem with the sex laser. Sex laser is nothing but a simple load break switches. It cannot handle fault current. During the fault time, it gets tripped. Once it tripped, fault is free exits, then it cannot switch on. So what we will do through control center, the automated switching with the operator support. We can, when fault is removed, the operator from remote control, he will switch on these switches when it comes to normal. That is how it happens. So temporarily, reconfiguration of feeder is possible by this philosophy. And another thing, just I wanted to stress here, this distribution automation is not a complete replacement to operators, low dispatch operators or engineers. It is not like that. It will provide you assisted support to the operators to take a right decisions, in informed decisions, in a more better way and quicker time. Normally what happens, operator also they are capable taking, as the load, as a very beginning I told, our number of customers load is increased, manual operations, that's what it becomes slightly difficult. This distribution automation helps them to take quickly right actions. So there are options are there. I will discuss later when we'll come for DMS, distribution management systems. So this is the example what in the field we are using one three-way RMU, and this is how the typical feeder. This is actually infrared or CPRA. We are setting up on SCADA test laboratories. I hope any of these faculties anytime happen to be there in Bangalore. Maybe sometimes you can visit. This is the advantage of commissioning for the SCADA lab and the security testing aspects. Just here I've shown these photos how it looks, three-way RMUs and the feeder automations. Here everything is we located in the same. Here we can see RMU, and here this is the seculazer, and this side it is the auto recloser, RL here. But in the real feed systems, these are little bit away and will be installed at the strategic locations based on the field survey. So now let us see, to implement all the distribution automation. Very beginning I told, because of this communication technologies and competition or computer systems, there is a slowdown in the implementation of SCADA DMS. Otherwise, we learn all these SCADA system 20 years back itself, each and every town would have been there. So the communication is very, very vital in the implementation of the SCADA systems. Whatever we discussed about feeder automations, substations, all data have to come to control center, and all data are available to SCADA DMS application. Then only that software can take a right decisions, and will give that as a suggestion to the operators in a very timely manner. When communication is not there in any one of the field devices, that data will not be there, and that is a difficult task. And your network details are not right, again distribution automation result also will not be right. For this communication and your network topology should be very, very correct system. You have to be given information, have to be given in the at the time of creating databases. So let us look a little bit more on the communication aspects. So reliable communication system is very much essential. And here we see that communication technology is very rapidly changing, especially from the 2002 onwards. You can see now almost 18 years is over. You have seen a lot of changes in the communication technologies. What we call very beginning, pager has come, cellular phone next, it has come, 2G, 3G, 4G we are seeing, and in future 5G also we are tracking. Lot of changes happened. Even similarly in the satellite communications or radio communication systems also, many changes happened. Radio conventional analog radio technology replaced with the digital radio has come. Even power line communications we are not much using. but that is one of the older system. There also digital power line communication system has come. So there are a lot of developments happened that helped to implement these SCADA systems. So another thing is that, sorry, you can see that the bandwidth, our data requirements is also gone up. See, earlier system, power line communication systems you use, that has got a very limited bandwidth, but we have used very successfully. About 20 or 15 years back, we can see that remote hydro plant, generating station, there even conventional phone also may not be there. So we have used successfully power line based communication systems for both data and voice. So, but now over a period, because a lot of changes, number of consumers, number of expectations, requirements has gone up. Meanwhile, technology also has come up. So our requirements of data is also very much increased. So maybe in some substations we are providing the surveillance also. So a lot of videos will be there in substations. So that also requires a lot of bandwidth and latency also. That is the time. That is also very much essential here. In this being real-time systems, the communication latency should be very, very minimum. Say 20 millisecond our power cycle. So this latency should be very, very minimum, so that we should be able to take a timely and very right decision at right time. So communication latency sometimes leads to problems. So while selecting communication technology, you have to choose properly. And when we are using earlier system, when we are using power line communication systems, it was a closed network. Nobody can enter. And this PLC is also totally isolated from our enterprises network or business network or corporate network, what we call. But nowadays, it is not there. We are having communication between the operational control center to the corporate network, and also sometimes we are using third-party communication services like BSNL, Airtel, or Vodafone, whatever maybe. So security is also important. Security communication system, what we call. Even if you hire third-party systems, you have to ensure there is a proper securities or VPN systems is that there. Even over and above VPN, lot more security aspects are coming. And the next decision factor utility need to take is that whether they want to have their own network or public network. Say, for example, I'll tell you, in the RFID RP, we have taken only small towns. For example, Warangal. Hyderabad is exceptional because there are more than 200 substations there. Warangal town. We are having more, not when we started this project, hardly about 15 to 18 substations, 33.11 kV substations are there. And feeder count also 11 kV within the Warangal town. It is also not much, about 300 plus. So here, if you want to go for your own network, your own fiber network or your own network for the communication, that calls for capital expenditure, capex, that is more, and that is not feasible. Whereas come to the example of Bangalore city, we are having in Bangalore city distribution automation. That is more than 2000 control points are there, and I think number of feeders I'm not exactly remembering. I think it is more than 1000 plus feeders, 11 kV feeders, and at the same time the number of customers you can see that is also very high. So here what Bescom has taken a decision is to go with their own communication network. So Bescom, they are using RF based systems. Again, in the RF, they are using both licensed and free channels. Generally, licensed channel is advisable, and free channel they are using as a backup center. Licensed channel gives little bit guarantee on the interference free. See what happens, free channel means multiple people, multiple users will be using same frequency band with some power limitations, but obviously there is a chance of interference. You can see that in the Chennai and Hyderabad, they implemented town SCADA before the Bangalore DAS also, in the 2002 time itself. At the time, this 900 megahertz they were using for radio communications. That time it was not a free, and our mobile communication was also not on 900 megahertz. They used 2.4 gigahertz and 900 megahertz licensed band, and 2.4 was also at the time licensed bands during 2000 or 2002 period. See, over a period, what happens? Mobile communication system has come. They are operated on the 900 megahertz band, many of these GSMs. And then 2.4 gigahertz licensing also they removed. It has become free band for our Wi-Fi and other kind of applications we are using. And another things added to this one, the geographical network within the city area also there are large number of high-rise buildings has come. So this all affected the connectivity of the signals. Many of the remote stations we are unable to get connectivity to control centers. So that is how this SCADA has become less visible and we failed out under RFDRP scheme. We have gone with through third-party services, through service providers communication networks. So that way how it depends upon. Here in Bangalore, because of large numbers, they gone for their own networks. So there are advantages and disadvantages. Own network, definitely it increases your capex. And operational expenditure will be little less. But when you go for third-party network, your operational expenditure is there. That is yearly or monthly or 6 monthly, whatever rental charges we need to pay. But definitely, year one plus point in the taking through third-party service is that any technological obsolescence in the communication, especially in the communication system, very rapidly changing. That will be taken care by your third-party service. You not invert anything or change anything. Any communication system changes, they will upgrade that one. Maybe some your operational expenditure charges here and there, some changes will happen. This is how that communication plays very important role. Let us see which are the communication are being used. Before that, let us see what kind of requirements we will need. See here we can call the communication system requirement for wide area network it has to come and for backhaul and within the utilities and last mile connectivity. Let us come to wide area network. Here what happens within the utilities what I call that is the our corporate network or and the operational networks all will be talking to each other. So and sometimes likely their office buildings will be different. So here even transportation systems also uses, utilities also uses. See, and it should be safe and reliable systems. Here I have mentioned as the electric utilities. The electric utilities are rail, even rail network also they are using this kind of applications. And backhaul, what is the backhaul requirement of connect the WAN to the last mile connectivity. The last mile connectivity here, whatever I mentioned that the feeder components are substations. This from wide area to goes and it aggregates and transport rail telemetry or utilities telemetry data substations, substation automation critical parameters or IED data to the control centers. And utility lab that is within the control center or the corporate network, all these operations have to happen. So generally it will happen through normal standard LAN network to the internet and exchange through web server will be there. I missed in the while explaining that architecture of SCADA, web server also will be there one for transferring that is through demilitarized zone, all that information from operation technology go to corporate network through web server. So last mile, here what are the important aspects? Two-way wireless or wired communication network overlaid on top of the power distribution systems on rail network. You can see that rail also they started their own. Even our utilities, you can see that power grid, they are having their own fiber optic network. So similarly, even state transmission companies or distribution company also can think of as a alternate. But this is what just I wanted to mention. They can make use as a another business from this point of view because right of way is available for that one. And you will not go for that discussions here. And here this is the multi-purpose network technology and lot of things how this one the last mile connectivity here only will be having problem in the substation level where fiber optic is not there again we have to go for conventional copper. So in copper connectivity we have faced some problem due to poor grounding or the other end parts interlinked. Some of the RTU cards used to fail that one. So what kind of communication you have to use that is also matters here. So having discussed what are the communication requirements, what options are available to decide upon some of the parameters for us, like security, network latency, reliability, scalability, data delivery, criticalities. What are the parameters we have to look before going for which communication? So security, that is secure information storage and transportation for operational purpose and network control. So when you are using third party or your own, you have to look for that one. See what we call VPN, virtual private network, all we are using. Nowadays VPN with again hardened some protocols are available. So we have to take care because our electric utility falls under critical infrastructure. Security is prime important when we are using third-party network. And network latency, you will see that here very timely decision is very much important. So the latency, whenever see, you can see that SMS normally, sometimes immediately we'll get SMS, and sometimes even though you are in a better signal connectivity area is also there, SMS comes very late. You might be, many of you might be noticed that for any OTP, you have to connect. Sometimes it will take quite longer period. Again, once again, you have to make. So here we cannot wait. These are all real-time systems. That's what network latency, how it works in real communication systems. And again, reliability is reliable for successful and timely exchange of messages. See, sometimes wired communication, what happens? Any wire cuts are there, so that your outages will be there, or communication will not take place. So reliability is somewhat less. Whereas underground cable, it's like it is better reliable than the overhead lines for the communication network also cables. And data delivery criticalities. And that is one SMS example what I given. Similarly here also, if I am giving one comment, that has to be there. It has to be delivered. Data has to happen within the time limits. It has to be reaches. So that is also important. In some of this GSM GPRS build we are using for filter automation also in the distribution automation. This is the one problem we are facing. For energy meter data collection, we are using many times GPRS build data connectivity very poor. Many of the RFD towns we are seeing. So, but now 3G and 4G are coming. There is some improvements because basically the earlier 2G or 2.5G, what we call as a GPRS, it is not designed for that kind of application. But as a offshoot, additional application case has come as a utilities metering applications. But there it was a very poor data delivery rate. Scalability, this is how we can expand. For example, if we are having 400 kV or 220 kV lines are there, if you easily we can use the fiber optic network on that one. So we are having rate of play. So how that scalability is, that's what how. Our radio systems, if I am having already frequency spectrum license is there, we can think of that can build, how it can expand. If later I want to grow beyond my geographic limits, maybe 1 kilometer radial distance. Later I want to extend to 2 kilometers. What are the feasibilities? My RF power, whether I will get permission or not. Those things aspects we have to look into. So after all this survey, we will decide what kind of communication channel we have to use. There are telephone lines are available, power lines are there, micro links are there, fiber optics are there, and satellite mobile communications. So here you can see that telephone lines, now it is not much things, more or less it has become obsolete for the distribution automation. Power lines, earlier we used, now we are not using much because our expectation on the bandwidth and latency is higher. So that's why it is not much. Micro links, obviously it is little bit expensive, still it is in use. Maybe, for example, in Bangalore itself for Discom, they are using micro links. And fiber optic cables, these also very good advantages. As I mentioned, Power Grid, they have started their own separate strategic business of communications, primarily fiber optics. They are leasing to for other applications and they are using for their own applications. And also they are providing to other transmission companies or distribution companies on a lease basis. So that is also advantages. And among all these medias, fiber optic is no doubt it stands as a number one. And nowadays, CAT also has come down, it is not much. Next comes satellites. Some places we can see that these microlinks or fiber optics may not be feasible where satellites, that is what we call as geographically remote areas. Definitely satellites will communicate work. In KPTCL, that in Karnataka Power Corporation Limited, integrated action SCADA, we are using satellites. Here satellites again, there are two types, LEO and geostationary. LEO is low Earth orbit. That is somewhat latency is very less in that one, similar to regular radio communication. Geostationary, there is some latency will be there. That is obviously it is known. But in KES, in our capital SCADA systems, basically we are using for distribution management system, not for critical protection events. So that way still it is helpful. They are successfully using I think first generation they used somewhere before 2002, and again 2008 or 9 onwards they are fully using. Now again they are thinking for upgradations. There is no doubt they are very efficiently they are using satellite communication. This is also very good communication channel. And next coming to mobile communication. This mobile communication, what happened? It has become popular because you can see that during 2010 and 11, the mobile communication infrastructure has gone much higher than the customer requirements. Less customers are there, but mobile network capacity is more. And at the same time, cost has come down. And utility also wanted to go for distribution automation and metering applications. And these mobile operators are also looking for alternate business. What can be? Too, because their capacity is higher, but number of consumers are less. So some may globally as well as especially in India also, we can see that India provided a very large market for them to experiment also. But obviously due to some or other reasons, 2.5G or we call GPRS, that was not much successful. But now we are thinking of using 3G and 4G. We can see that new smart meters are coming up already in the many of northern states, and Government of India plan is to go for pan-India smart meters. Most of these smart meters are using mobile communication systems for data. And in the distribution automation also, for the feeder automations, we can see that feeder automation will be located at the very densely populated or remote place or in the very highly congested areas where conventional systems like fiber optics or satellites or other options will be little bit expensive or not feasible. So definitely mobile communications will work, but there are some drawbacks are there, and some of these things are overcome through 3G, but still some experiments are going on. 2.5G, definitely many of utilities opinion as well as the data, it is not much satisfactory. That is GPRS, what we can see that earlier mobile used the GPRS. Now we are all using LTE or 3G. So earlier days GPRS, this data communication also it happens through GPRS. So these are the communication. Now let us see that what are the communication protocols also. Once discussed after communications channels, that is physical media, the communication protocols. What is communication protocol? Basically, it is a set of rules and regulations that allow two or more electronic devices to connect to exchange the data with one and another with the proper interpretations. So how this language, English language or we call Kannada, there is a grammar and syntax. What I say, you can understand. What you can say, I can understand. Like these communication protocols, for the SCADAs, we will be sending a packet of data, binary packets, 0 and 1 will be there. And each frame or each packet, what it means. So it carries voltage, it carries power, or it gives breaker status, or it gives alarms. So that kind of, for that IEC International Electrotechnical Commission has developed standards. That standard number is IEC 608070-5101 and another one is 5-104 and DNP3. DNP3 is more popular in US and even in BESCOM also they are using DNP3 build FRTUs and in KPTCL we are using 104 build RTUs and in the substations IEC 61850 communication protocol for the within the substations. These are the more predominantly used communication protocols in the power sectors for the distribution automation or SCADA or SCADA GMS or SCADA DMS or SCADA EMS. We will not go much details. This is itself is a separate subject of its own. We will not go. Just for our understanding, these are the standard numbers. I hope some of maybe familiar and still lot more developments also in the happening. There are plenty are there. This is majorly for the distribution automation and transmission automation they are using. These are the protocols. So now after having discussed distribution automation and what are the components and how these are interconnected through communication channel, either our own or through third party, and how this operational technology control center is interconnected with the interfaces or corporate network, we can say that any technological advantages like any medicines we take for our health, maybe whatever may be the medicines, those many medicines comes with some minor side effects also. Like that, these technological advantages we are using, this also comes with some minor side effects, what we call as a security threat. or cyber security threat. See, you are going with all automated systems. Everything is interconnected through the internet or communication. Either it is through loop or interconnected. Through once it is connected to corporate network, you cannot say I am completely safe. It is like a banking sector. We know everyone. There are in many times we are seeing in TV or newspapers. There are some security breach happened where credit card, internet banking, somebody are uh, uh, misused their credentials and transferred money or stolen. But you think that we are not stopped using of this credit card or debit card, internet bank. If you stop using of credit card, internet bank, just to see how you feel. Even initially, I also felt I don't want to go for internet bank. Over a period, what happens? I want to operate on Saturday, Sunday, or evenings after business hours of bank. I will find very difficult. Later, I started using internet bank also. Similarly, utilities, if they are thinking as a there is a some security threat is there, I don't want to go for automation, then will not get any of these advantages or benefits by introduction of automation technologies. And also operational efficiency also comes less because very large number of consumers are base is there and generation is there, renewables are there. Managing distribution system becomes really very tough task. So the present day utilities need to manage their power system infrastructure, that is the physical conventional systems, and information infrastructure also they have to manage. See the physical side, you are having generating station, type of transformer, transmission systems, and end users, meters, smart meters through distribution companies, all consumers get connected, and feeder automation so will be there. But in all these segments, that is generation to utilities, utilization of electricity means end consumers. Lot of information exchange also happens. We can see that there are various informations. Control center to generating station, they will be having different kind of requirements of set of informations. Whereas the end customers who is using smart meters, his requirement is of information will be different. He may be thinking of periodically load and how to reduce his consumption like that. Here, what is his generation, what is the demand? That kind of load dispatch centers they need to know. And again, we are having lot of distribution automation system also. So those renewable energy system also, those also take different kind of informations. And consumers, there are different categories like industrial, commercial. Each one will have different informations. So let us see how the security comes into picture and what are the precautions as utility engineers we need to take. The very first of all, as I mentioned, the power sector or the power supply delivery systems, that is from generation to the end customers distribution lines. What we call this falls under critical infrastructures. The government of India through CERTIN and NACCP, they identified various critical infrastructures. So power sector is also falls under that one, like a gas and pipeline and water utilities. These are all critical infrastructures. Any impact happens on the this critical infrastructure, that leads to lot of serious issues. And especially when the power sector, all other sectors are dependent on power sector. Any impact on the network, parts of the network, directly or indirectly, it hampers other sectors, economy, finance, or business, or healthcare systems. So here, when we're talking about security, so physical security, new utilities they will take care of. Still, didn't requirement anything either by applying proper access system, security guards, proper entry and in and exit with the ID systems that they can make with a semi-automatic and manual power systems. And again here, system security. This is the electrical network system security. That all we electrical engineers we know what is the status of my grid. So that is separate. Means I need to balance here load, generation, frequency, and voltage profile. That is electrical security or grid security. Apart from that, new system is that cyber security, what we call. This cyber security comes into picture. Why? Because we implemented automation. In the automation system, many things are interconnected. They are talking to not only operational systems of your field devices, RTU, FRTU, corporate network. The corporate network is more vulnerable. See, there many of users will be there. They may not be knowledgeable in the electrical systems, what is happening in the field or other things. So we have to be very cautious in that one. There are like remedial solution system also available. This subject is also a separate subject. We will not go, but just at this stage, I wanted to inform you that this can be taken care, well care. While implementing the SCADA and DMS systems, definitely we can take care. But always we can say, I am always 100% secure and safe. I have taken all the standards, everything. We cannot say. There is always, it is a continuous process. Cyber security is a continuous process. Whatever today I did, tomorrow may or may not be valid. Again, I have to need to update, like an antivirus package, maybe 1 week or 1 day older. The antivirus package we cannot guarantee anything can happen. Similarly, energy meter tampering systems, you know. So today I will call as my energy meter as it is a anti-tamper, tamper-proof. It is very robust. But we cannot say parallelly another set of people will be working how to tamper meter. Similarly, in the security also, one more set of group of people will be, they will be trying to hack this system, enter into our network due to various reasons, maybe state supported or want to as a challenge. That is a different issue, but you have to take care and it is a continuous. Another aspect is that not only technology, it is also much dependent upon the people who uses the critical assets. That is the utility engineers and operate load dispatch operators. They should be well trained in the cyber security, not technological aspect. It is a information. How to handle anything happens security, what actions I have to take, or what are the precautions I have to take so that I can minimize. This is very much essential. And in the process, how we will be entering, like sometimes password will not change at all. Periodically, we have to change password. And again, load dispatch centers. But now it is changed. Earlier, what we have seen, all three shift engineers uses only one password. That is not correct. So now, but present system anyway, that is changed. Each user has a different password will be there for his own, because it is easier tracking. Anything happens, who has worked out. If common password, common one single ID is used, it is difficult. So that kind of process need to be adopted. For that, various solutions also available. Definitely, we can handle that one. So here on the our utilities availability is more important. We'll go. I think time is running. I will quickly go through. In the while talking cyber security, always we call as a CI, confidentiality, integrity, and availabilities from the operational center or the our electrical sectors. Far as prime importance is availabilities. See, anytime the workstation or server, the operator should be able to take control. He should be able to trip any systems. Like in ransomware, we have seen that suddenly that seizures, operator cannot, that user of computer cannot use anything unless he have to provide some bitcoins, all are got encrypted, he cannot take action. That is called availability. Here availability anytime, operators should be able to take a emergency control of system manually also by using his system workstations. So that is what we call as availabilities. That is prime more important, because here safety is also important. See, in banking, if anything happens, immediately I can shut down my server, everything. One message comes, due to some reasons, we are making off for half an hour, 1 hour. No, nothing will happen, that 1 hour transaction will not be there. Little loss will be there also, but not that impact. Here, what happens in the critical infrastructure like electricity or water or the gas and pipe, it will affect not only men, not only machineries, the people also it will affect. Something your transformer gets burned, the people surrounding nearby also gets affected their lives. So availability is important. Next comes integrity. Integrity we call the information whatever sent from the sender to destination, that should not be changed. So this is called integrity. So confidentiality. The confidentiality, this is by what is the user who is supposed to use by making using right user ID and password. Confidentiality can be there. Integrity, the data should not be changed. Whereas in other sectors, confidentiality is more important. Who is the user, right user? I want to check. You might be seeing that transaction, second authentication, OTP through your mobile. That is what the password just wanted to ensure right person is handling that one. Okay. And integrity, whatever data. See, from your home, you are sending some money to one of your son or daughter, whatever may be. That amount in between the data gets, that will be amount whatever transferring, that will be in the binary form, maybe 1 lakh or 50,000, whatever. That should not be changed and should not go to wrong account. So that data should not be changed here integrated. Availabilities. Operator, if unable to take, you can totally shut down, you can disconnect network. So that is possible. So that is the reason availability is not priority. So this is what we call CAA triangle. We will not go much detail. And regarding standards, I don't want to go much detail. Time is running. You can see that Smart Grid Standards Map.com. This is developed by IEC, International Electrotechnical Commission, and I hope the slides will be made available to all the participants by this program coordinator. So you can go through this one. You will see what are the standards for which areas applicable. We will not go much. And case studies, just I will quickly go through. Already during discussion we done. This KPTCL project, it is one of the largest SCADA project. They are having about now it is 1,400. This 1,000 is little old. More than 1,400 substations. 33 bar 11 kV to 400 kV. They are completely automated. Each station is having RTUs, and they are having 16 control center, including backup control center. Communication is VSAT, and connectivity to SRLDC established through ICCP, and they are having EMS and DMS function also. They provided to each DISCOM also DMS functionalities. And similarly, under RPDRP, CPR was for KPTCL project also, CPR was consultant. And RPDRP under RPD scheme project of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh also, CPR was consultant. There in the 6 towns, Hyderabad, Warangal, Visakhapatnam, Vijayawada, Nellore, Guntur. And another state, Pondicherry, in Puducherry town also, this SCADA DMS under RPDRP implemented. And for all these projects, CPR was also consultant. Incidentally, I was also part of the team that gave good opportunity for me learning aspect. This is one more smart grid pilot project. This is in the advantage of completion at the Hyderabad only, JD Mutla industrial area. These are some of the features: advanced metering and peak management, outage systems, power quality, and condition-based maintenance systems. These are some of the things. GIS, outage management. For the small pilot area, they are implementing. This is in the advantage of completion in this project. And coming to last 2 slides, just before conclusion, I wanted to inform you, CPR is also setting up SCADA and security test beds. Whatever you have seen that SCADA DMS in the real control center, as morning also Dr. Subbareddy sir has mentioned, in Bangalore we are having SRLDC, that is Southern Load Dispatch Center, and State Load Dispatch Center also. Any opportunities you can have a look at one. Similar kind of things CPR want to establish for the research purpose and testing purpose, and the scale down version SCADA, but it is more or less a real systems. We are having real SCADA DMS applications and servers and different feeder automation components. And here we wanted to conduct so many testings, experiments, and R&Ds on the SCADA part, protocols, and securities. This new facilities, especially on security aspects. Now recently, Government of India has issued an order to the imported items that need to be tested for the vulnerability and security angle for use in the power supply network. So in that aspect also, CPR is working to establish the test facilities for that one. So for RTUs and IEDs, RTUs already standards are published. CPR is working towards to establish protocol security conformant test facilities. And again, in the emulated mode, if we are not able to conduct, because this test, cybersecurity test, sometimes real-time system conducting will be difficult, that in the emulated mode, we can conduct. We can create scenario of real kind systems at laboratory, then we conduct vulnerability assessment and penetration testing can be conducted to see how that robot may architecture. And also to share the information with various stakeholders like CERT, that is Computer Emergency Response Team of India, and transmission generation teams. So this is all information possibilities is there. In that direction, CPR is working. This is letter development, and any of faculty members or today's participants, any of your time is there, you can visit CPR anytime. Apart from this lab, you can see lot more things related to power sector facilities, test facilities. So I think with this, just I want to conclude my presentations. Basically, we are discussed about how this distribution automation comes into the smart city. As I told, smart city is a very bigger. Within that, we will be coming to energy sector. In the energy smart grid, and within the smart grid, we are having one component called distribution automations. Oh, this is the to implement smart city, distribution automation is also one of the component as a part of smart grid or smart city initiative that is essential. We can say as a prerequisite. And SCADA system used for implementing automation basically. The earlier system used to collect only data. Now we can implement whatever the data we collected based on the DMS systems. We can have a lot of applications like feeder reconfigurations for load balancing or feeder reconfiguration for minimizing losses, state estimations, or fault location, isolation, and service restriction as explained using the feeder automation. For all those things, these are the features of distribution management systems, application packages. For that, you have to need to implement automations. And also it helps to provide load flow and volt wire control and load setting, load forecasting applications also. This will help. And when we want to implement this SCADA and DMS, distribution automation systems, communication is a vital and various options are available. Utility have to select the right system for their right applications. The operational control center is also got connected to enterprise network of plant or company generating station or utilities. So here the important aspect is that once we are interconnected, cyber security, as I mentioned, as a side effect. So we have to take care. But definitely that can be minimized or by taking proper precaution measures, we can minimize or we can neutralize that one. But we have to take care of that one. And it is a continuous, security aspect is a continuous process, not one time, it is a continuous process. And with best practice and training of utility staff along with secure technology, deployment from trusted sources and good process implementation, that is, you are having very good robust network architecture and best process, what I told, the like pen drive or the password or login IDs separate for separate, we can minimize export to cyber attacks and risk can be minimized. So this is all what we get advantages from the distribution automation. There are some issues like cyber security issue that also can be minimized with the proper implementation and adopting technological and process and proper training. I think with this I want to conclude my presentations. So now any questions are there? The floor is open for questions.
Thank you very much, sir. So I think you are able to see the chat box, right?
Yeah, just I'm opening, sir. Yeah, tolerated. I think some power interruption. That one first question I'm seeing. Just I'm reading out that question also.
Yeah.
Power interruption of what duration can be tolerated in smart cities? Because they will be mainly more depending on the internet or IoT based technologies. Long durations of power interruptions might affect their operations. Yeah, here, sir, basically, here that power interruption duration, see, by implementing distribution automation and SCADA, what I mentioned, duration can be reduced. First, it is number of customers. That when we isolate quickly, means only few customers will be having less interruption time. For example, in a smart city, that is a, you take example of the Bangalore urban itself, we take a very bigger area. By adopting this distribution management system and with the proper design and other aspects, with the proper feeder automation topology, we can minimize this number of interruptions and duration also we can reduce. Basically what happens, instead of say for example 10,000 of customers get affected in a complete substation goes out, but by properly implementing that kind of scenario will be less. Even one feeder gets tripped because of your implementation of DMS, quickly we are able to restore to the normal areas except for one small segment of that small segment of area, maybe 500 or 300 customers gets affected for about 1 hour or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, depending upon type of fault. Transformer itself is failed. Normally it will take longer period. Some kind of any via cable cut or overhead line cut is there, they can make it in maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But biggest advantage is that I am restoring to the rest of the portion in my area. So that way, the interruption affected number of customers is very less here, and interruption also for major number for majority of customers duration will be less. Only small segment, depending upon type of fault, it may be more, but it will not lead to catastrophic failure. So that larger area blackout will not happen, sir. I hope I answered, sir, your question.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, another questions, I received it. So communication
Yes, sir.
front-end processor with respect to SCADA, where exactly it is located? Will the location vary? This is a question, sir.
Sorry, once again, sir, your question, sir. Communication.
Communication front-end processor with respect to SCADA will vary. The location of this one will vary or not?
Here, just I wanted to say, see, communication front end servers are high computing server only. Say, for example, let us take Bangalore. We are actually in Bangalore. I think many members are from different locations. I understand. I am being in Bangalore. Just I am taking Bangalore as an example. We are having 4-5 areas: Area 1, Area 2, Area 3. Each Area 1 substations through the dedicated RF communication is there. If it is utility owned, the data will be come through after repeater and other things to the control center. Control center will be located at one headquarter in Bangalore. For example, it is in the HSR level for distribution automation, and for KPTCL it is in Anandra circle. It comes. Let us assume it is something in a different. I am using third-party service locators. So, for example, I am using BSNL. So, from area 1, nearest telephone exchange it will go. Either that substation has got cable, this fiber optic connectivity, okay, or if it is copper connectivity, nearest exchange, after that exchange, it goes to MPLS cloud we call, that is multi-protocol label switching, it is MPLS cloud. So from their data to SCADA control center, wherever it is located, anywhere in the geographic location, it comes. I hope I answered, sir, or?
Yes, sir. Next question, sir.
Yes.
During power distribution grid failure, how the IEDs will communicate?
Power failure within the grid, in the substation.
Power distribution grid failure, how the IEDs will communicate?
Yeah, here two aspects in this question. If it is particular substation is failed in that, normally we know all in the substation we are having DC source. For protection system, 110 volt or 220 volt, battery source will be there. All these critical things, IEDs will be having, it will be through station battery. And our SCADA systems, gateway also, battery will be there. Large bank and UPS will be provided. That will be there 4 hours or 8 hours, depending upon how that works. But at least protection aspects, IEDs will be through DC power supply. That information, if they are having at gateway level also, backup is there, information go to control center. Let us assume main UPS is failed, but station battery, generally station battery is critical. Chances of failure is very, very remote. But still some places it happened. That is next question. But IEDs, what happens? Whatever the critical related to protection aspect that will take care, and data also locally gets stored within the IED. Once power is stored, all this information it will transfer to the main control center SCADA.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, last question I will take. There are some more questions are there. What is the difference between IED and smart meters? Intelligent electronic devices and smart meter.
Yeah, smart meter basically we call as the energy meters. In the our utilities world, we are using smart meter for the consumer premises. It can be there, or in it is commercial complex for the energy consumption and recording. And this smart meter, some new smart meters, whatever is coming with the demand response facility is also possible. But right now in India, that is not happening. Demand response indirectly we are doing. Means consumption pattern will be provided, load profile will be provided. Every day, every 15 minutes or half an hour like that. This is basically related to energy consumption aspects and maximum demand. Whereas IED, intelligent electronic device, though it is very generic name, but in utilities language when we call it IEDs, it is nothing but your protection relay, numerical relay. And specifically, again, we will attach always IEC 610 based protocol. We call as IEDs.
Okay, sir.